Welcome and welcome back to Really Legal. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman. So today started the third week of Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York in Judge Merchan's courtroom. And there was something really unique that happened today that I'm going to explain to you in a moment. I'll give you the good, the bad, and what's next. So let's start with the basics. More testimony today, laying the foundation, authenticating records in this criminal trial in New York City. It's the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump. And it's critical to note that all of this is because Donald Trump claimed when he had Michael Cohen pay off Stormy Daniels to bury the story of her extramarital affair with Donald J. Trump while Melania was at home, apparently. The allegation is that he had Michael Cohen pay off Stormy Daniels, but in his business records, he said it was a legal expense. Well, paying somebody off to bury a story is not a legal expense. And we already heard from David Pecker of the National Enquirer that they had a meeting about this way back and that they were going to bury stories, catch and kill negative stories about Donald Trump. So we're going to hear from Michael Cohen. We're going to hear from Stormy Daniels. But the big thing in my mind that happened today that I'm telling you, not enough people are talking about, there actually was a really big piece of this first gag order ruling today from Judge Merchan. So the simple explanation that you may have heard in the news is of the 10 reposts, essentially, that Donald Trump put on Truth Social, 9 of the 10 were a violation of the gag order. Trump was fined $9,000 today by Judge Merchan, and importantly, was threatened that he could go to jail. So let's get into this order because it's actually a written order that provides a lot of information that I think is very important for what is not only happening in the Trump trial, but there's a huge warning in Judge Merchan's ruling today to all of us that we need to pay attention to. So let's start with some of these basics from the ruling today. You know, he goes through the background and talks about that Donald J. Trump is charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree in violation of Penal Law 175.10. We've talked about that. But specifically, it's not a misdemeanor falsification of the business records. It's because it's specific with the intent to affect and interfere with the election that happened in 2016, meaning burying bad news. This should have been an election campaign expense, but was misclassified as a legal expense. That makes it a felony. That's really important. So he goes through the background. Then on February 22nd, that there was a motion by the prosecution to essentially gag Donald Trump. It's called an to restrain extrajudicial statements by Trump. March 26th, court granted the gag order. The first one, March 28th, we got another letter clarifying, hey, you can't attack all these people. So what happens is in the state of New York, there's a maximum of $1,000 fine and the potential for jail time with each violation. So we had this first gag order violation motion by the prosecution, and they found that there were 10 posts. And let's walk through these really quickly. The first post was on Truth Social, April 10th, 10:07 a.m. Second, April 10th, 10:48 a.m. Third, April 13th, 12:56 p.m. April 15th, 9:12 a.m. All right, I'm not going to go through all of them for you. But the point is all 10 posts were by defendant and a repost of material previously posted by other sources or other websites or social media accounts that contain, and really importantly here, defendant's words, and were reposts of material previously posted by another source, which may not contain commentary. So it's a various one. Some were commentary by others, some were Trump's own words reposted. And importantly, defense did not deny or dispute at all that these were done. So Judge Merchan said, yes, you're not allowed to do this, right? Remember, let's go back to the gag order. You're not allowed to make or direct others to make public statements about one, counsel in the case other than the district attorney; two, members of the court staff and the district attorney's staff; three, the family members of any counsel, staff member, the court, or the district attorney. And you can't direct others to make public statements about any prospective juror or any juror in the criminal proceeding. So what the judge found was 9 of the 10 posts violated. That's the $9,000 fine today from Judge Merchan. Importantly, willful disobedience of an order, which we clearly had here in the case of Donald Trump. I mean, I know defense argued otherwise. It was what's called prima facie, on the face of it. Trump knew what he was doing. He knew what the gag order said. He had been told so many times to stop doing this stuff. He went ahead and did it anyway. And interestingly enough, there really isn't good case law about reposting. So Judge Merchan said the issue of reposting appears to be a question of first impression. I'm quoting from his decision now. Lacking legal authority to guide its decision, the court must, as defense counsel stated at the hearing, rely on common sense. So interestingly here, Judge Merchan said reposting is a violation of the gag order, is an endorsement, is saying, look, I support what you're posting over here. I'm reposting it. Therefore, that means I agree with it. And here's what he said. Trump's Truth Social account and Trump's official campaign website exclusively represent the opinions and views of the defendant, and neither is an open forum for others to post their own content. So this gets back to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which says Twitter is not liable, for example, for Trump's posts. Truth Social is not liable for Trump's posts, although it's his, so there's something more to be said there. But the point is intermediary sites, Facebook, that's how they get away with, other people posting things that violate the law. They're not held liable. But here they control it. Therefore, they're liable for it. They're not exempted under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So in Judge Merchan's own words, in doing so, he endorsed the post with one purpose in mind: to maximize viewership and to communicate his stamp of approval. And even in an exhibit, when I put out a statement, it is spread all over the place, fast and furious. Everyone seems to get whatever I have to say, and quickly. If it didn't work or properly get the word out, I wouldn't use it, but it does work and work really well. So that's Trump's own words. And so Judge Merchan says, thus, there can be no doubt whatsoever that defendant's intent and purpose when reposting is to communicate to his audience that he endorses and adopts the posted statement as his own. I think this is really important. So this is two key things here with Judge Merchan in my mind. One, we have to be careful how and what we repost now. This is a big takeaway I don't think is being talked about enough. Your repost, retweet, whatever term you want to use on whatever platform you are talking about, if it appears that you are actually endorsing it, such as you're taking extra steps to copy it from one platform for another, and then posting it up on your account. So again, if I'm grabbing it from Twitter, I'm grabbing a Fox News clip, I'm posting it, and that then becomes an endorsement. This has real legal consequence now. We need to think twice before we repost something, in my mind, because if I'm going to have a problem in a defamation case or elsewhere in the future, I'm going to now point to Judge Merchan's ruling here in this gag order and say, or this gag order ruling, and say, look, Judge Merchan says when you take these extra steps, this is now potentially a rule that could be followed. Now, important to note, California court doesn't look at trial court in New York as a binding precedent, but it can be an argument that can persuade. It can be a persuasive argument that another court found something like this to be the case. And Judge Merchan even continues and says, turning next to defendant's post in which he purports to quote Jesse Waters, Exhibit 10, this is not a repost, but rather the defendant's own words. Mr. Waters uttered a statement which defendant altered, placed in quotes, attributed to Mr. Waters, and posted. So there is kind of some narrowing of the rule here about reposting, but I'm telling you, be very, very careful now. And Judge Merchan goes through and talks about, again, in the expanded order, quote, it remains this court's fundamental responsibility to protect the integrity of the criminal process and to control disruptive influences in the courtroom. So for all the people, oh, Trump's First Amendment rights are being violated. No, we have to have a functional criminal process that has integrity, that jurors and witnesses and court staff are free from intimidation and abuse. So this is really, really important ruling today. So $9,000 fine and a warning, by the way. They're saying in some cases the fine could be $2,500 now, Judge Merchan says. It could be a fine of $150,000. And he finishes with, because this court is not cloaked with such discretion, because that was an argument that the prosecution made, it must therefore consider whether in some instances jail may be a necessary punishment. Finally, maybe we're going to get to the point, and keep in mind, so let's talk about what's good, what's bad, and what's next out of today's ruling. The good, Trump is being held accountable. $9,000 fine. You can say, oh, that's pennies to a guy like Donald Trump. I don't disagree with you, but the warning shot from Merchan now has legal consequence, which means now, as many of us have argued, he wasn't going to start with jail. Now it becomes an option. So what's the bad out of this? This is taking forever. Donald Trump, the wheels of justice turn slowly, but the wheels do turn. I think he maybe is starting to get the idea that he can't keep doing this. Maybe that's why he keeps falling asleep, because now he's getting the jail cell walls are closing in on him now. Comment below. Let me know what you think about that. But what's next? We have remember, 4 more violations of the gag order. That hearing is on Thursday in Judge Merchan's courtroom, May 2nd, 2024. There's a possibility now that Merchan ups the fines and now starts really contemplating the jail time. In some instances, jail may be a necessary punishment, he wrote in his order today. This, to me, was the biggest thing out of today's hearing. The fact that reposting can be an endorsement now. We have some rule around that. And that Merchan is now considering jail for Donald J. Trump. Some of us can only hope that maybe will stop the abuse of our system, it appears to be, at various times. Give me your comments below. I love to read them. Many of you know that. Click that like button, smash subscribe. And really importantly, please share the video with your friends, your family, your frenemies. It's really important to help spread the word for us here on Really American, okay? Help us spread the word. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman. This is Really Legal on the Really American Network. Thanks so much.